Unanimously approved. We do have a special meeting this evening prior to our regular board meeting between 6 and 7 o'clock for people who wish to comment in regards to the GSA issues. And as normally, when you have an opportunity to speak to the board, you will have a maximum of 5 minutes to talk. It is not an opportunity to engage the board in discussion or philosophical viewpoints or anything of that nature. It's simply an opportunity to make your wishes known to the board and your feelings. Prior to speaking, I would ask that anyone who does choose to speak state their name and their address. And if it's a student, if you would just tell us your grade level. Okay? And of course, I hope you all have these high school students.
Well, we have a few students here. Hopefully, some more will trickle in as we're meeting. It's hard with schools, obviously, to get everyone here. I know what we had planned on doing was the students were going to give a little bit of information on what it's like for them here at Hartford, kind of a day-to-day, how things go for them here at school, and then talking about why the day of science was important to them. And then I know that they're prepared to answer any questions that you all might have about, about why they got the day of science and importance, or anything that you have any questions I'd like clarification that you may say about. I know that one thing I was pulling out some stuff before we came in here tonight, and one of the things that I just thought was another reason to support this is that when listen, the Gay Lesbian Ministry Education Network did their 2003 National School Climate Survey, lots of interesting findings. I'll just throw a few of them out here. 84% of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender students report being verbally harassed because of their sexual orientation. 91.5% of LGBT students report hearing homophobic remarks such as faggot, dyke, or the expression that's okay frequently or often. 64.3% of LGBT students reported feeling unsafe at their school because of their sexual orientation. Students who frequently experience harassment because of their sexual orientation had GPAs that were 10% lower than those that did not. Average GPA of LGBT students report frequent verbal harassment 2.9, and those who get lesser harassment, their GPAs are 3.3. A couple more is that LGBT students who can identify supportive faculty or staff or who know that there's a GSA in their school feel much more supportive of their school in general. And that's why I think it's important to do things like the day of silence so that students, whether they're in group or whether it's students who are too scared to come to group, but who are LGBT or maybe have a family member who are LGBT, feel supported in school and know that the school supports them as well. So, who wants to speak?
We also have a sign-up going around, so anyone who's here who speaks needs to sign in. It's over there. So people just arrived after we make this announcement, so everyone knows. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? You need to state your name.
I'm Cancellation, I'm a freshman here at the Community Sophomore. And as Ms. Rivers said, we're trying to give you guys a glimpse of how our life is at high school. Whether we are LGBT or just a supporter, we do get a lot of harassment, be it like discreet harassment or accidental, it's there. I cannot count the number of times in the hallway I hear, "That's so gay," or "You're such a faggot." It really hurts, even if you're not gay or lesbian or bisexual. Either way, it still hurts to know that your sexuality is being used as an insult, and it's pretty rough to go through the halls hearing that. I mean, this year I came out as being bisexual. I lost friends for this. Friends that I have talked to for over 6 years have not talked to me anymore because of my sexuality. And I think that's a big part of why Day of Silence is so important to us. So we can all come together as a group and show how we feel about this. And by being silent, we would, it's kind of an accumulation of all the times we've been silent by harassment throughout the year. And it's just really important to us. I just wanted to let you guys know that it is rough being in these hallways in school, hearing gay, faggot, dyke, stuff like that. It even hurts me to say it out loud. I mean, it's rough. So by letting us have the Day of Silence, it's one day for us to let everyone know that we're out here and it hurts, and we're doing the best we can to make ourselves known and to make school a safer place.
Do you want to go next? Okay. Who wants to go next?
My name is Gorichanaz, and student to be. I just want to say about a year and a half ago, I came up to myself and to everybody, and I also lost friends because of it. And that's when I started getting involved with GSA. And as you know, last year's Day of Silence, we had approved signs where we had hung up. And I printed off a bunch of those signs. And as a thanks, I guess, from some of my special friends, I actually ripped off the top of this, but it says "Stop killing the trees." It's got a lumberjack chopping down a tree with my name pointing at it. So I thought that was nice. Made me feel good. But it's not so much that hurts. It's every day when I'm going out to the parking lot, you're a stupid faggot. Don't go to our school. You don't belong here. And that's like at least once a week. So that's what hurts. And it's just nice to have a place where people aren't going to call you that. And Day of Silence helps bring some awareness into other people so that they see that there's actually people who think differently than them, who feel differently from them. And it just makes them think, oh, maybe it's not so bad. That's all. Thanks.
Nicholas Wagner, 236 High Street, Hartford. I was a graduate in 2003. As a senior, I was a founding member of GSA. I thought it was very important to show my continuing support for this group. So many of the kids that were in the group with me, we didn't talk about sexuality, really. We just talked about feeling safer and what it meant to have community, have support. There were students in there whose parents were LGBT. There were students in there who had no LGBT connections, but had parents who were alcoholic or had friends, and it's a place to talk with one another, to feel safe. I feel that by taking away Day of Silence, you took away these kids' feeling of safety within this school. They really, truly need this place where they feel 100% okay, which they may not be doing at home. I lucked out. I had wonderful support from family and friends and faculty because I was a very open person and willing to make those connections. There are a lot of shy kids in the school who aren't as ready to approach a faculty member and say, I need some help with this. And by just showing your support, by allowing these things to go on, by allowing posters, you really send a clear message to the students who need to feel safe and the students who are harassing others that it's not something to ignore.
Let's go next. And I'm assuming saying from GSA or any of the staff members here insurance who are working. So you feel it too?
Absolutely. Who wants to go next? Mr. Thompson, you look like you're ready.
I'm ready. I'm always ready. Chris Thompson, 805 Cedar Street. During the summer.
It just seems that way.
Right. Last week or a week and a half ago, I went to the last GSA meeting just to get a better perspective, I guess, on what kids were feeling and what they experience on an everyday basis. And I think, I guess some of the comments that I heard were the staff and faculty were fairly supportive for the most part, but yet there were still isolated incidents where a faculty member would not jump in and hear inappropriate language, harassing language in the classroom and put an end to it. And I think more of the issues of acceptance and tolerance, or intolerance, I guess, came from students in the hallway, students in the classroom, students, in just casual interaction at lunch, whatever it might be. And, it makes me angry that students have to go through that, I guess, because that's not what we have in our school's mission statement. It's not what we are all about. It's not the legal thing, the legally right thing to do, and it's not just the right thing to do. We need to be active in our promotion of tolerance and acceptance, and I guess it's frustrating it was frustrating for me to have the board, kind of push off the issue until now. I think to do it without television cameras, to do it at the end of the school year after school is out and fewer students could attend, I think is avoiding the issue and not addressing it head on. And I spoke to that the first time I spoke to the board, and I'll speak to it again, that I think, in past times when we've had problems at our school, we have not pushed them away or tried to push them under the rug, but we've dealt with them head on. And I think this time that is not the case. And I think, and that in and of itself is another message sent to these students saying that there are some issues that are important, but there are other, but your issue is not as important. I mean, in the last meeting when the students and a number of people came to discuss the issue to the board, the art department was allowed to present for the second time, no less, second meeting in a row, for at least 35 minutes. And yet, when the students and other people wanted to speak to the board, they were limited to 2 minutes at a shot, and essentially, less than the 20-25 minute time window. And so, that was another clear message that said, we appreciate our art department. We enjoy the things that they're doing and the great job that the teachers are doing. But, we only want to spend 20-25 minutes on one of the top issues at our school, and that's intolerance. And to single out, the other problem I had, I guess, was singling out the GSA group and saying, now, the board wants to work specifically with you to find a solution, is pretty focused. The kids are willing, I think, when I talk to the GSA group, they're willing to take on some of the responsibility of educating others about tolerance. However, it should also be the staff, it should be the board, it should be other students, those who are showing intolerance, that should also take on that responsibility. And I think we collectively need to find ways to make that happen.
Who will be next? Excuse me? Okay.
New junior this year. I feel it's kind of unfair for the cancellation this past year of GSAs. And I feel like maybe it's just like another battle that we as supporters and GSA people lost, because last year I feel we lost trying to defend our rights by getting our sides. Every day we use a battle by being called a thing or like or anything like that. And I feel like maybe if you guys take silence and look at it, we lost kind of what.
Thank you. Next.
I'm Terry Bernal, I recently graduated, and I wasn't really prepared to speak, but as I was sitting here, I was thinking about how the GSA for many kids, and no matter if you're gay or straight or supporter, it's become a place like your niche in high school where you're comfortable. And the day of silence for us was kind of our 8th semester that we wanted to accomplish. We wanted to do a good job. We worked hard on it. And then at the last minute it was canceled. It was kind of like we didn't work hard enough, or we didn't do what we were supposed to. But I guess we'll just have to try again, or everybody else will have to try again for next year and just fight. So I'm just hoping that it works out.
Thank you. Some people have just joined, and I'll make an announcement. Do you know where the clipboard is to sign it in? If you have not signed in, you can just pass it around to people who have just come, so we can get everyone's signature.
Sure, I know that one of the boards appointing canceling the day of silence was that it was a distraction for the school day, so I'm just wondering if the teachers here would be comfortable talking about the distraction that it caused during the school day this year.
I'll speak for that.
We're asking everyone to state their name for the record.
Victor Hoffman. I live at 53.
No, you don't need to do all that, but thank you.
I teach freshmen and I teach juniors and seniors. I had one girl hand me a card on the day of silence, a pre-printed card that said she was being silent, which was amazing because she's never silent. But there was absolutely no distraction whatsoever. I said thank you very much, and I feel that the day of silence is absolutely no distraction unless a person chooses to make it a distraction. And I think that all of us as professional educators know how to deal with distraction. We do it every day. And this is not just the opposite of distraction, and certainly afforded many people, including myself, a chance to speak to intolerance. And I think that, I know that we don't teach what we say. We teach who we are. We teach what we do. And if we allow one person or a small group of persons to prevail in intolerance, we condone that intolerance. And we have just taught students that a small voice of intolerance will prevail. And I think that that's what really distresses me, is that a few intolerant people have allowed us to be part of that intolerance. If this were a race issue, it would be a non-issue. We would say, well, of course we can't discriminate. I mean, it would be so clear. So this is the last, I think this is the last bastion of acceptability for intolerance, and I think that we should stand against it. If a small group, if this were back in the 50s and the 60s, a small group would say, we can't integrate and all of it. You all remember that. You're my age, you remember that. And people stood against that, however difficult it was, however philosophically difficult it was. People stood against that. And we've made strides in that area, although we're not perfect. I think that it's a shame that all of us were made to participate in it. And I use participate because it's an active word. When the Day of Silence was canceled, we became part of that intolerant group. And I resent that immensely.
Thank you. Would like to speak next? I'd like, before you speak again, I'd like to give everyone a chance to initially talk. If we have time, then we can get back to you in seconds.
Is it possible to ask a question? Because
it's just an opportunity to state your opinion and let the board know your feelings. It's not an opportunity to engage in dialogue with the board. It is
not just for point of clarification.
No.
Shirley, when you scheduled this meeting, you said you wanted to meet with the GSA to discuss this.
To hear this, to hear what their feelings were, and to enlighten us in this process. That was the whole purpose. Anytime someone comes to the school board, there is a window of opportunity for citizens to speak to the board, and that is the time. That is the opportunity.
Well, that said, I guess I just want to say I'm here to be supportive of the group, and I was under the assumption that the students had followed the proper channels, and that's, I guess, the clarification I was looking for, as far as allowing the Day of Silence to go on, and then it was taken away. Again, I don't know if there's anything else I can add that wasn't really stated by the person.
Okay.
Yes. Schultz. I was a bit disappointed when I heard that it was canceled because we had spent time in a faculty meeting. The kids had presented what they were going to do, and we had all agreed that it was fine, and Jeff had presented how he was very supportive of it, and we all were. And I enjoyed the opportunity to model what I would hope that my students would pick up, and that is the tolerance. And that opportunity was taken away from me to be a role model for them for that particular day.
Do you have anything else to add? Thank you. I don't want to cut people off necessarily. We do have 5 minutes that you could speak to the board as a very long person. Who would like to go next? Got time. If there's no one else who wants to speak, we do have someone who would like to go for the second time. Oh, excuse me, in the back.
Well, Lynn Klein. I'll tell you what I saw from when the students, and I wasn't the only one, but when the students presented to the board, I saw a clicker, they click them off every 2 minutes, and I understand there must have been a 2-minute rule, but that became almost the focus of the presentation, was that time. I saw frightened students, apprehensive to be there, students who you could tell were uncomfortable, especially uncomfortable in front of the board. And I saw a board that wasn't really receptive, that was more interested in the 2-minute timeline than looking at the students and feeling how uncomfortable they were and trying to use that situation.
Thank you. Oh, there's a hand, okay.
John Smith, I guess if I can echo or add to any of this, maybe add a little twist based on what I'm hearing. First of all, I didn't have any distractions in class whatsoever. I guess I look at the word distraction more on them. Obviously, distraction for them is hearing about the fear that they have, that they share, walking out in the parking lot, walking in the hallways. Obviously, when you're under fear, you probably don't perform your best in the life. And I feel that just having that extra distraction, it's more of a distraction for them. We celebrate what's right here. We celebrate here in this school board meeting. We have department boards. We have different successes. I mean, I'm sure a number of these students have successes out there, and there's probably a fear of wanting to be up there to be recognized. And that's a shame. They should not feel that anymore.
Anyone else who wishes to speak to the board on this issue? For those of you who are just coming, there's a clipboard somewhere in the back. If you wouldn't mind signing in, I'd appreciate it. Some of you are behind bookcases, and it's hard to see, so if you're raising your hand, let me know somehow. Anyone else? Cassie, would you like to go?
Yes, I'm going to call us a quick As for the distraction issue, I'd like to say that I actually, having at least 2 or 3 people participating in each of my classes, I'd say we probably got more work done on that day than any other day in the year. Now maybe that's just a pattern with me being in a class and learning more when I'm silent. I'm not sure, but we actually got a lot accomplished with silence, and I learned better. Stuff from that day has stuck in my head. Maybe it's just the feeling of being, okay, I'm going to prove everyone wrong and show that we aren't distracting, but it actually helped a lot of kids learn more.
Anyone else?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Keith Bowles, the classroom situation, we had the GSA day last year. When it first came out, I thought, wow, that was pretty unique, pretty cutting edge for our school to do that. Didn't have that in any other school that I worked in or school that I attended. And I had one student that wore a shirt that said, proud to be straight, and we did the usual Hartford HUHS solutions to turn it inside out, perhaps wear our shirt that covers it. Other than that, I didn't see a huge disruption. Disruption in my workday or in my classroom. And I thought, well, I guess the day has finally come to parallel the thoughts with racist and now with this. And, maybe there's the beginning and the end. I'm shocked to see that it was taken away from the students this week.
Thank you. Let's just give people a back of chance. Anybody else who wants to talk?
My name is Brian Juchems. The last name is spelled Juchems. The last 2 letters as in the emergency medical system. And I'm actually from Madison, Wisconsin. I actually work with the Gay Lesbian Gay Education Network of South Central Wisconsin, a local chapter of the national organization, partially responsible for helping accumulate the statistics that we shared at the beginning. And one, I just really wanted to congratulate the students and the faculty who have spoken about this support. It's an incredible risk, and it takes a lot of courage to speak the truth about their own lives, especially when Wisconsin State Statute 118.13 says that you cannot discriminate against students in a non-curricular or curricular fashion. It really sometimes feels like gay students go to TCS really to justify or validate their own existence when actually state policy very strongly says that that shouldn't have to be the case. So I just really want to congratulate the students. The other thing I want to point out is that Day of Silence is the one day in the year where students actually have a chance to educate a different point of view about issues of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender issues. What we forget is that the rest of the days of the year is that we're passively teaching a very different message. When you're growing up, you learn that not to wear a certain color on a certain day, if you wear green on a certain day, you might be gay. Green might place when the clear out the playground. And what we forget is that we very passively teach a message of intolerance. And so it's always surprising when I hear people really resist the opportunity to actually teach something else for one day of the year, because most often that topic is silence or a very different message of intolerance and a message of saying you're not welcome here as being hot. So I just really want to appreciate the students, just really congratulate you for the work that you're doing, and wish you luck and success. So.
Thank you. Any private group tonight? Anyone like to talk? You should come all stay for the board meeting too. You don't normally get this. Yeah.
Nicholas Wagner. I'd just like to encourage, I know this isn't a dialogue, but if you do have questions, and I'm speaking out of turn, but I'm sure Ms. Rebar would be more than happy to ask them to the current GSA, to past GSA members. There's a little network going around. We still have that family going on. If there are questions, encourage faculty, if there are questions, to ask them.
I will tell you that I have had dialogue with Kelly on more than one occasion. So, and I will also explain that when I made the call, when I saw on the website that the Day of Silence was going on, I was very surprised. I thought last year that we made ourselves perfectly clear that not intolerant at all, but not intolerant of any sexuality, but rather drawing the line at anything that was going to be going on during the school day. You know, I mean, that to me was not what we were here for. You know, I mean, other groups have points that they want to make. They do educating. They, you know, there's points all the time. There's things that are going on in the school, but they do not take up the entire school day. And in my mind, I thought that we had made that perfectly clear the year before. So I was shocked, frankly, to find out that this was going on. I also was not happy that this particular point was tied to a national day. Like that group, I had done some work on it last year, and I felt that I didn't. If we were going to make points about sexuality, if we were going to be informing people about how easy it was to be intolerant, it would seem to me that we should be able to do it in our own style. Hartford has always been able to do things, not follow the big. We've always been able to personalize messages, I guess is what and personalize direction. So to tie up to a national day like that, I don't know. I didn't particularly. The year before, I had thought that was not a good thing. Again, I thought that message was communicated. So I was surprised, and then the telephone calls started coming, and so it was a disruption in the community. It was a disruption in the day. It was a disruption in, but basically, it should not have happened. I thought that we were perfectly clear with the decisions that we came to in 2004, and frankly,
if you decide to present this next year, I will feel the same way in 2006. And it has nothing to do with tolerance. And it has nothing to do with harassment. And it has nothing to do with anything. And I think every day we should be teaching the message that you're talking about, Pat, and all the rest of you. That is not allowed in Hartford or anyplace else. And so I was, there's no denying that I was an instigator in putting the brakes on this thing. I have come to the GSA group. I've been there at least once, and I think twice. I happened to be, last year I was at the faculty presentation, and I would, I would certainly be happy to be there again. And when Kelly and I emailed about this particular situation, I told her that I would come as myself. I could not come representing the board as one of the 5. And I will put out my hand again to you the same way that I do to everybody else, any other group or any other teacher. If you want to know why I think something, you call me. Cassie, I've loved your emails, and I will tell you that I thought the people that came before us at the school board meeting were wonderful. I thought that they were so, they gave their message, they were clear cut, and I thought that if they were afraid for the most of them, I thought they were most articulate students, and I have, this whole process is not personal. You can take it personal, but I would beg you to rethink this issue and come up with another way to spread your message.
There was a hand in the back. Cheryl Grant Stevens. I'm a teacher, and I would have to say that homecoming is probably more of a disruption than the Day of Silence was. And I personally supported the Day of Silence. I began my class with 5 minutes of silence, instructed in a PowerPoint, explaining tolerance, teaching tolerance, and I had kids thank me, and not just gay kids. I had kids thank me and saying to me that they felt it was a really worthwhile endeavor for me to have taken that on, to follow through. So we should examine homecoming then, which is a week-long thing.
Anyone else? First time around? Okay.
Gorichanaz. I just wanted to share my feelings on what she was speaking about. I agree that we need to teach tolerance every day of the year, but if that doesn't happen, which obviously is the case, I think a special day kind of opens doors for more people to share their views when they normally wouldn't. And in regard to tying it to a national day, I don't see the harm in doing that if the day represents what we feel. And if we had the day on any other day, I'm sure we'd have no opposition from the school board.
Thank you. I just want to make a few points that have been jotting some down stuff. I just want to point out that it's not sexuality, it's sexual orientation that we're speaking to. It has nothing to do with sexuality. The other thing is that comparing to other groups, other, Carol brought up, other groups do have whole days of doing things, so it's not an uncommon thing for us to do this. Groups making announcements throughout the year, groups doing various things throughout the year. I know that one of the Dr. Kids last time brought up food drive or something like that, that are causing more disruption to the school day than this does. The other thing is, I know we were talking last board meeting as well about another way to support tolerance, and it was suggested that this was a political movement, and that we would find another way to support tolerance, but yet I have not heard any suggestions from the board of other ways to do it. And since we found a way that has worked across the nation, and then we told we can't do it, I'm not sure what else we can come up with that would support, since we haven't been supported on the already tried. Also, it just kind of seems a common sense thing to me that making LGBT kids in the schools feel more comfortable raises their GPAs, raises test scores. It would make sense to support the group and what they're doing to make Hartford High School as a whole do better, to look better, in all of our test data and all that kind of stuff. And the last thing is I just really want to thank all the teachers for their support. I know after the Day of Silence and right before the Day of Silence and tonight as well, all the teacher support, and I know the students have felt very supported by the teachers who are here, so I appreciate that as well.
Thank you. Yes,
That's right. Crystal, you mentioned about the distraction. I hesitate to mention some of these because I'm afraid you might cancel them as well, but we have blood drives. FFA has a week of activities. Homecoming, which was mentioned, February Frenzy, the DECA convention thing that they just had in the gymnasium, that was all day long. We have pep rallies, the art club, or the art display that went on. There's all sorts of distractions, and there's all sorts of activities. That's part of our life, and I don't think we need to cancel something just because it's a distraction. Because I think that is what we, like Vicki said, that's what we deal with every single day. And we include that then in our lessons, and I think we become better at it.
Thank you. Chris?
Ms. Bird just mentioned that she used the words perfectly clear. I thought we made that perfectly clear, and those are the exact same words Mr. Flynn used when we had the board meeting a month ago. And in my opinion, it seems to me that you are punishing the students for something that either you didn't communicate clearly enough to Mr. Tortomasi, or that basically that's it. There is no or. It's the board's job to work through Mr. Tortomasi so that you're sending a consistent message to the student. So Mr. Tortomasi either didn't do that or chose not to do that. And then, but when you continue to say to everybody, especially to the students, that I thought we made this perfectly clear, you didn't make it clear. I don't necessarily know that you made it clear to the students last year. But right now, the students definitely know where you stand. And I'm not really sure that it's appropriate to let the students know where you stand. Let Mr. Tortomasi be the spokesperson. If you didn't make it clear, you can't hold Mr. Tortomasi responsible for that. That's not the student's problem. That's a management problem. And I feel like when you say that, when you use those words, perfectly clear, you're kind of chastising the students for not understanding your position from last year. And I don't really think it's their job to understand that. And I don't know. There's obviously communication issues, and I think to bring it out, I mean, I feel like you had 2 points to make. Number one, you need the community to know where you stood, and again, you need to know everybody here know where you stand. And number two, you need to say that it's not going to happen again next year. Yet we still some type of no tolerance, and I think that's very consistent.
We have a hand behind the bookcase over there.
Tom Zacek. I want to echo what Chris said. Nothing was made clear last year. As I tried to explain at the faculty meeting last year, after the decision to cancel, when the posters were taken down and the decision was made to cancel, there was no communication of any sort. The group had spoken to the faculty prior to the day of silence last year. Students never heard, students in the school never heard what the group told the faculty. The community never heard what the group told the faculty. No one else heard what the group told the faculty. And after the day of silence was canceled last year, there was no further communication of any sort. It was simply canceled. And I know that the faculty didn't understand the reasons why it was canceled. And therefore, I'm quite sure that the students didn't understand the reason why it was canceled. So I have a hard time understanding what was made clear, except the word no. And in regard to the other disruptions in the year, one more was not mentioned. Veterans Day disruption. And I'm confident that if every single teacher, or a vast majority of the teachers, came to the board and said the Veterans Day assembly is a disruption of the school day, we would have it anyway. Why? Because we believe in the principle behind it.
Thank you. Anyone else? It's awfully hard to see people in the back, so as I said earlier, if you want to talk, work a little harder at this to let you know.
I would like to address these last couple points as far as the cancellation and the rationale behind it. it seems to me some people were oblivious, but the Day of Silence has been going on a lot more than 2 years. But the last 2 years have been very different. 2 years ago, there was a great deal of backlash to it. The signs being written on, torn down, the T-shirt things, and it became somewhat confrontational. There's also a lot more phone calls and emails that came our way, not this past year, but 2 years ago. And I think that's been the disruption. It hasn't been the Day of Silence. It hasn't been the students involved in that. It's the reaction to the Day of Silence that's created the disruption. And I think a big part of that is what people have attached to it, rightly or wrongly so, because of the national organization behind it. One of the thoughts that I've had through this process, and it has not been comfortable for me by any means, has been that absolutely tolerance, understanding, those things, we've got to pound those things every day. But I think when we attach it to a day and all kinds of peripheral meanings come from all kinds of bizarre sources, it makes it more difficult. I think the best day for a Day of Silence would be not on the National Day of Silence, but on a day-to-day basis or on some of our own created ideas of how we want to deal with understanding, tolerance, diversity, all those issues, and could be cross other groups. We have a multicultural group that could be involved. We have a lot of different issues that can be addressed so that this one isn't all by itself and getting that reaction that it does. And it's unfortunate, but that's real. And that created a disruption 2 years ago. That's what was avoided this year. Rightly or wrongly so. It was coming to a head, and it was probably going to be worse than it was the year before. And so it was stopped. I don't think it's a judgment on the value of the day or the support or non-support of the people who were involved in it, but it was fear what that day could have become.
Yeah.
If that fear was real, why did it take that long to come out then? Because the kids met several times. They planned everything ahead of time. They met with you a couple times. They came to our faculty meeting and met with us. Everything was fine until it got put on the website. Why was, and I know you don't want the exchange, but I just find that to be a little bit ironic. If that was a disruption 2 years ago, then when the kids first came to you and asked you if they could have the day, why didn't you tell them that right then? Why do you say, sure, go ahead, plan? Oh, wonderful.
That's not exactly how it went. We did talk about those things. We looked for a different timeline. Part of our concern was we were involved in posters a month before the day or at least several weeks before the day the year before, and we decided that was not a good idea. It was not that group. It was not their planning. It was reaction. And the reaction started coming fast and furious. When parents are calling and saying, my kid's not going to that day of school, I'm pulling them out, well, you don't like to kowtow to that, but at the same time, that's a disruption.
Mr. Ballmer, did you have your hand raised, or were you just scratching? If you want to speak.
Yeah, I guess Steve Ballman, teacher here. When I think of the Day of Silence and disruption, the day that disrupts me the most is every year when we're hit up for the United Way, who supports a group that's openly anti-gay. And I asked one year in our faculty meeting, how do we reconcile that with our policy of first class? Because what I'm hearing here is we have first class behavior, but we've got a group of students who are clearly being told they're second class. And I think that that mission statement in the first class really needs to be reevaluated if we're going to practice what we preach or if it's lip service.
Thank you. Yes.
And like you said, you did get calls and complaints about pulling people out in school, but like I said before, you proved what you said when you were there. You may have gotten like a few dozen calls, but look how many people aren't calling the school. We've had people from Hartford coming here. Hartford alone is over 2,000 people in this population. We got people from Yorkshire, Richfield, some people from Slingman that can't come to the center schools. We've got a few dozen of them. Populations of under 10,000. I think that's really disrespectful. And it kind of gives me a better picture.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Carol Wagner, Hartford. What I want to know is, see, these kids, they're going through this getting picked on every day, every day. And you're complaining about a few complaints, a couple days. These kids are putting up with it every day, 4 years, some of them. I don't think that's fair to them.
Thank you. Yes.
Other national events the school participates in, Red Ribbon Week, National Smokeout, Black History Month. There are lots of nationally connected events in the school.
I just want to point out that I know that Jeff has mentioned a couple of times, and I can't remember if someone from the board has said it as well, that it's not the kids participating in the Day of Silence that are the disruption, it's the other people who are against it, that's disruption. And that's illegal. You can't cancel an event because of what might disrupt the school. If the kids who are participating aren't disrupted, you can't cancel because something else might be disrupted because of what they're doing. I know, unfortunately, Tracy's not here tonight, but I know she's told me, she's given me her support for the group and let me know that she was very supportive of this matter. And I think that the board is full of this matter. I had one board member email me, and I'm just going to read this, but that I don't condone any form of discrimination. One's sexual preference is one's own private matter. If one wishes to make it public, then they'll have to deal with a public judgment. That's kind of scary to me that we're thinking it's okay for the public to judge these kids, and we're saying it's okay and they can deal with it, and we're not going to do anything about it to change the minds of anyone.
Oh, there's any other, excuse me.
Sorry.
Lakers say, just want to say that there seems to be a bigger emphasis on Veterans Day and the wall that the kids walk by all day long with the veterans on it. And many of our friends are on that wall and admire that. But we have to remember that the military doesn't take gay and lesbian soldiers. Something like 40,000 have been kicked out, and lots of them have been translators in a world where there's terrorism and very few people speak the language except for them. I think that there's a misinformation on the kind of disruption today. There has been no disruption. I had one boy last year that mouthed off, and the whole class sat him straight about mid-and-a-half, and we resumed. We spend more time in the Pledge of Allegiance every day than we do on disruptions on the Day of Silence. And this was not. Last year I saw a half dozen kids with their shirts. Naughty kids are usually naughty, with their shirts inside out and things, nasty things written on them. We should have been written up and made to change their shirts just like the girls with the beer and midriffs do. And that would have been it. As far as the classroom with the teacher and the church, there was nothing else like it. Probably nothing more that goes on every day of the life.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Again, I'd like to apologize for taking away anyone else's time, but may I ask how many people, like a rough number of backlash you got in the Can I ask that?
It's really not an opportunity to get a dialogue. It's just to tell us your thoughts and feelings.
All right, then I will assume close to 200 trying to max it out to make it seem bigger. Like she said, I'm just trying to reinstate this. Hartford has a population of 10,000 plus, including all the other towns that adjoin it. If you think about it, 200 people is 5% of the population, maybe, excuse my math skills. If you think about it, 5% of people complain. What about the other 95% that don't have a say in it? I know that even children at school won't tell the APs if they're being harassed for fear of being called a narc or getting beat up because, you're not supposed to do that. But I know that I reported someone the discrimination I was receiving thanks to this rewrite without me being enough the courage to do it. And I'm just saying, the ratio of people who are against it to the people that are for it is probably much different than you perceive it because of the amount of people that support it or are afraid to speak up. Like, I heard that Mr. Tortomasi supported it, but he had to cancel it because he put his bosses and he has to pretty much do it as you wish, not necessarily, but just saying that a lot of people won't speak up positively because of just that little percent of people that will make them feel worthless for it, even though they know it's right and they know it has to be spoken.
You speak to your experience in band.
Oh yes, one day a band of 5th graders from Erin came to visit us, and two of the trumpet players were just outright calling my friend a fag. I mean, these are fifth graders talking to freshmen in high school. If they feel so comfortable telling someone that is 4 years older than them that they're a fag and they're not afraid of that, it really makes me wonder what's being taught in the younger schools. Because if they're comfortable saying that to people that are older than them, stronger than them, probably pretty scared of them in usual circumstances. I mean, they probably wouldn't go up to someone and say, hey, you're stupid, but they feel comfortable going up and saying, yeah, you're a faggot. It really makes me lose faith in humanity and wonder what's going to happen in these coming generations. I mean, it's really depressing to think about it. Fifth graders. I don't even know if I heard the word fag in fifth grade, let alone knew what it meant or used it as an insult. It was just really disheartening and sad.
I would encourage the board, I don't know if there is any public communication of what topics are being spoken on the board meetings or the board meetings are. I know that talking to adults, my parents, friends' parents, that they don't know what's going on or when. There are a lot of community members who may not have children in school that still are taxpayers that would like to speak on issues. Maybe making an announcement in a public newspaper to say that these are when the meetings are, so that you can really hear where the support lies and where it doesn't, because we don't know what's going on.
Pat Redmond. I think that if this would have been allowed 2 years ago, we wouldn't be here talking about this evening. So that's all I want to say.
Anyone else? We do have 8 minutes left.
Our meetings are posted in Hartford Times. Okay, that's our official newspaper. And
On the
actually,
website.
Our website is good because you can always find us an email through the website as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I would just like to say that worrying about the negative reaction and getting so much negative reaction, I would think that negative reaction is just proof or evidence that we need something. Something should be done. And if you're getting a negative reaction, then obviously there is something. The kids are going down signs and something has to be done. The kids are right.
Thank you. Anyone else? It's going to be our annual meeting.
Can I make one more?
Sure.
All right. So, I would just like to point out to you, the crowd here, is anyone here against the day of silence? Is anyone here? Can you see where the support lies? I see no one here that bothered to take time out of their lives to come and speak out against it. Just like to let that be known that these are all supporters. Us kids, during the school year, we took time out of our lives, sports, homework, to come here and speak, and I saw no one speaking against it. So obviously this is where the passion and support lies.
Thank you. Anyone else? Six minutes. I'd like to thank everyone for coming and sharing your opinions. It's been very enlightening. I'm sure the board will also agree with me in that sense. It's been helpful to see everyone's feelings and your thoughts. It's unfortunate that discrimination goes on here at school. I'd like to see it avoided. I'd like to see whatever we can do to change that situation from lack of tolerance to tolerance and safety for everyone. Because I think it's not just this issue, but other issues too. Whether you don't have the popular clothes or the in thing or whatever that is, that's hard for kids these days. Plus when I was younger too. So there's issues out there that I think we all can come to grips with and find ways to support that I'd like to see we can. Would you like to comment?
Just want to come around and just like about, you know, you slow it, picking on people's stuff.
Yes.
I feel that the GSA's really important because I know that when I participated in it, nobody picked on it. Even people that picked on them called me vague recent days, and I'm more listening to his tone right now. And I think it really just stands out as proper usage and apologies.
Would you like to speak? We do have 1 minute left. I'd ask, there's a sign-out clipboard somewhere to sign in. We do have some time left. If you'd like to speak about the GSA issue, that's what we're here for, before 7 o'clock.
Most definitely, I do not consider GSA an issue.
Could you please state your name for the record?
My name is Rose Burnett. I'm going to be a senior at Hartford High. As I said before, the GSA should not be an issue. I don't even consider it an issue. I thought about this before I came here. I thought, what's so hard about accepting it? I mean, you think about it. I mean, let's see, blacks accepted. There's all sorts of racial things already accepted. I thought about it. Why not? Why can't we have a day of silence? I mean, students have a problem with it, but really, you got to be honest. I mean, you're the school board. You have a choice. You are a past generation that have many issues with it. You're the future generation. It's our choice, and we should have the right to know that there's nothing wrong. There should not be an issue. I mean, guys, we're just as normal as anyone else. Bisexual, lesbians, straights. I mean, it's all the same. There's no difference. I hate to break it to you. The reason why we have the day of silence is the fact that, people just need to understand, what is the deal. Many things have happened. We've been through a lot. And there shouldn't even be a we that I'm talking about. I mean, we're all the same. And then there's a day of silence. Basically, it's a part where we're silent, standing for all the times we've tried to stand up. You never let us. We're quiet. We're making a point. We're not disrupting class. We're making a silent statement. We can pay attention in class. We can still do the work. And if we give information to a teacher that we're going to be silent, it's their choice that we can or cannot. But then again, it's our choice whether we will or will not. And quite honestly, I did participate in the day of silence because I really do not think there should be a limit to or rule to whether or not there should be. There was actually someone who stated that if students would participate, they get a detention. And quite honestly, I was thinking, well, let's see, First Amendment. I understand that when it comes to the school, actually our amendments ourselves, the students, are actually kind of bound just a bit, but for safety precautions. But one thing, there's really no social danger. Last year we had issues, people tearing down posters, people saying we're going to have a straight day. I mean, okay, posters torn down. I mean, okay, they killed the trees, but did they kill us? There were no fights, no bloody fights. Not that I heard of. If there were, okay, it wasn't a whole school, was it? And we need to accept it. We're going to accept it later in time. Why not start now? I mean, I said before in the last meeting, we're high school, we're going into college. How would it be if when we go into college we don't even accept it? In college, there's going to be lesbians and bis all around. So people by then are saying, well, that's really cool. I've got plenty of confidence about it. I've never been bothered. I don't know, like the fact that when you go to college is quite open. I mean, if we come from Hartford, that doesn't allow it, we're quite sheltered. And I think I'm sheltered enough, and I really don't want to be held back when I'm in college. So, it's our truth to know, our generation, how it works. It would really be good if you started our generation off right now, instead of us having to wait to grow up so we can do it ourselves and wait for the next.
Thank you. It is 7 o'clock, and we do need to begin our meeting. Thank you all for coming.